What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 383. Damn, we're about to clear in on 400. I might do 400 as a live stream, man. I don't know. I got to really figure that out. That would be really cool. 400 episodes is insane. But yeah, always, grateful to have you guys listening, watching, however you're listening and watching. I appreciate it. A lot in the works, like I usually say. There's some cool stuff happening behind the scenes. So once all that stuff happens and comes, man, you guys are just going to be excited. It's going to be great. It's going to be really, really nice, man. So yeah, just a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I had planned on probably ranking J. Cole's albums on this episode, but I will do it next episode. I think that's the best timing. But I have the list practically what I think. I might switch an album or two on a slot. But other than that, I have the ranking. So I'm going to do that probably next episode. That's the plan. Other than that, let's get into the news. And that there really isn't an insane amount of news. There is a rumor, but I'm not going to, really bring it up. I guess I'll talk about it right now just to kind of give you guys a heads up on it that I don't know if it's true or not. But there are reports that Pooh Shiesty allegedly basically Suge Knighted his way out of the contract with Gucci Mane. Because if you guys don't know, Pooh Shiesty was signed to Gucci Mane's, the new 1017 label that he had when he got locked up. When he got out, Gucci said, hey, welcome home. But there are reports that now he's not with the label and that Pooh Shiesty basically got out of the label by strong-arming it, by allegedly, putting guns to Gucci's face and saying, hey, I need to get out of this label or else, which is the Suge Knight way of doing things back in the 90s. It's just a report. And by the way, this news mainly came from Tasha K. So if you don't know who she is, she's gotten sued for defamation by Cardi B and she lost the case. Cardi B won. She reports a lot of just news that, is like tea. It's like people, gossiping type stuff. So I will look into it and see. And I tried looking into it right now, but there really isn't like very reliable sources. So we'll see what Gucci Mane says about it. Maybe Pooh Shiesty's obviously going to deny it because he's out on parole. It wouldn't be smart for him to like say, hey, this is actually the situation. But we'll see. Just from Gucci's perspective, I don't see Gucci being handled like that and just allowing it to happen. Yes, he's a totally new person and he's on a more positive route, but don't get it twisted. That's still Gucci Mane. The old Gucci Mane is still in there somewhere, right? As far as Pooh Shiesty, I can see him doing something like that because he is younger. He's more wild and out there. The FDO record, by the way, is fire. Like, I keep listening to it. It deserves to be a top 10 record. And the fact that it has no hook and just straight rapping on it and saying some funny, interesting things too, it's really dope. But yeah, that's kind of that little rumor report. But let's get into the actual news. And it's an update on Lil Durk's murder for hire trial. And there has been a date that has been revealed of when this is going to start. So Lil Durk's trial for his murder for hire case will begin on April 21st, 2026 per Complex. This update looks to be firm despite previous delays. If you can recall, the Chicago rapper was initially set to face prosecutors on January 20th, but as recently as of last week, it was pushed back to May. A pretrial conference was on tap for April 13th. Even though it was bumped up slightly in April, it seems Durk's legal team's efforts to argue for more time was something the court could get behind. Drew Finley, the head attorney for the rapper, told Rolling Stone on January 7th, we would have been ready to try the case in 2 weeks, but the court appropriately decided that with everybody together, we still aren't there yet. It's a complex case. These are the stepping stones towards a trial. Which is funny is Drew Finley on TikTok got interviewed. And they're like, hey, what do you do? And he's like, man, I'm one of the best lawyers that defended, I don't know how many fucking people, Young Thug and who else, man? A bunch of people that did some crazy shit in hip hop. But obviously he's paid well because he got I think they stopped him and he came out of like a fucking Ferrari or something like that. So similarly, the California judge who gave the green light to a continuance said this case is so unusual and so complex due to the nature of the prosecution and the number of defendants that it is unreasonable to expect preparation for pretrial proceedings or for the trial itself within the time limits established by the Speedy Trial Act. So, yeah, we're looking at April 21st, 2026. That's literally 2 days before my birthday. Sorry to make it about me, but it always has to be about me some way. So, yeah, April 21st, 2026, that'll be interesting. And there are reports that Lil Durk has been released from solitary confinement. I'm sure they released him after all the crazy headlines of him being in solitary confinement for a long time. So Lil Durk's prison stay just took a turn for the better. XXL reports that he's been released from solitary confinement. He was in solitary confinement for roughly 5 months for allegedly sneaking an Apple Watch behind bars. Earlier this month, his legal team requested his release. They argued that the alleged infraction had not been properly reviewed by the unit discipline committee. Lil Durk is confined to a very small jail cell. Yeah, we went over this, which is insane, bro. To get 5 months for an Apple Watch behind bars is like 5 months inside of a box for 23 hours straight. And I talked about this on the few podcasts ago. Like, just try and stay in basically it's like staying in your bathroom for 23 hours straight. So I don't know if any of you guys did this. I recommended against it, but try staying in your bathroom for 1 hour with no phone, no nothing. Just you inside the bathroom for 1 hour. You would lose your mind. I'm telling you. It would just, imagine now 23 hours of that straight. Now, some people are more mentally strong and can deal with things like that, but regardless, a human psyche is going to get messed up. Your brain's going to get messed up in one way or another, being in a box for 23 hours straight. There's no debating that or being like, oh no, it's fine. No, you are fucked up some way mentally from that, which I don't know if there's ever been studies on people that had to go through solitary confinement in their brain. Has there been studies and tests done if there's any way to test that? Because that has to mess with your brain in one way or another. I got to actually look that up. That's something that I'm going to look up after this podcast and see. Very interesting nonetheless. But yeah, crazy, man. But at least he's out of that solitary confinement, and we'll see what happens moving forward when it comes to the trial. Updates on Turk's lawsuit against the promotion company that kicked him off the Cash Money reunion tour. So let's go over it. Turk has had some issues with Cash Money for a while now, whether it's his beef with BG after their days with the Hot Boys or his controversial legal dispute with tour promoters over the label's 30th anniversary trek that began last year. However, according to an exclusive All Hip Hop report, this latter battle might see a resolution. For those unaware, the Hot Boy and Dope Shows Inc. have lawsuits against each other over the former's exit from Cash Money's 30th anniversary tour. Per the outlet, the court scheduled a settlement conference for Tuesday, February 17th of this year. Federal judges often schedule these conferences as a mandatory process before determining if their cases will fully go to court. As such, despite a lot of animosity in recent months, there might be a chance for both parties to walk away with a satisfactory settlement on both ends. Still, since their claims against one another means that this could be a zero-sum game, we will have to wait and see what the next update from legal proceedings indicates. So yeah, a zero-sum game is like he said, she said type of legal battle, which if it goes to trial on a he said, she said, and the people on the jurors don't have a clear answer, then they're basically nobody wins. The person who's the plaintiff who's going against the defendant, which is the person who initially filed the lawsuit, that's the plaintiff, they're the ones going to be held liable for all their fees and stuff. If it's a, right in the middle game. So you got to kind of weigh it out and figure out, not all the time, obviously there's special cases and special laws in each state in the United States of America, but for the most part, the plaintiff is held liable for all that. So usually they don't want to go to trial. Usually people want to settle because going to trial costs a lot more money. But that's it on that, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Another lawsuit, and this is Kanye West dealing with his $57 million mansion lawsuit. Let's go over this. Kanye West has faced his fair share of legal issues over the years. Back in 2023, for example, he was hit with a lawsuit by a construction consultant named Tony Saxon. In the lawsuit, Saxon claimed that he was hired by Ye in 2021 to oversee renovations to his Malibu home. The property has since been sold. Allegedly, he also agreed to live at the site and provide 24-hour security in exchange for $20,000 per week. Saxon, however, alleges that he only received a single $20K payment. He also alleges that he was told to make changes to the home that put him in extreme danger. This allegedly included bringing in large generators and removing all electricity and windows. Saxon refused, allegedly resulting in threats and marking the end of his role on the project. Earlier this month, Ye filed a lawsuit of his own against Saxon, accusing him of wrongfully placed a $1 million lien on the home. The lawsuit also accuses him of launching an aggressive publicity campaign designed to pressure Ye, chill prospective transactions, and extract payment on disputed claims already being litigated in court. Ye argues that Saxon should not receive any payments related to the job as he wasn't a licensed contractor per Rolling Stone. At a recent court hearing, a Los Angeles County judge rejected this notion, ruling that this is up for a jury to decide. We're looking forward to presenting evidence and testimony to the jury in March, Saxon's lawyer Ronald Zambarine said after the hearing. News of Ye's latest legal loss comes just a couple weeks before he's expected to drop his album, Bully. The project is slated for release on January 30th and is available to pre-save now. So we'll see what happens. Pretty crazy, man. Honestly, this is why a lot of famous people got lawyers on retainer and just paying them insane amount of money, because some of these lawsuits are just never ending, bro. How do you deal with, like, I can't even imagine Diddy's legal team who's dealing with like 80 lawsuits of him doing stuff to people. It's insane, bro. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. This was interesting. So French Montana and Max B have been on a, album promo run for their, I think it's Coke Boys. I could be wrong. It could be Coke Wave. Coke Wave 3.5 is their collab project that they had, because I know French Montana has a Coke Boys mixtape series and a Coke Wave. And while on that promo run, they stopped by Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast, it's Joe and Jada. And French Montana, to his credit, confronted Fat Joe, basically, called him out for not getting paid for his hook on the song All the Way Up with Remy Ma. And if you guys don't remember, that was like the last time Fat Joe had a major hit record, and it did well. And French Montana basically was like, hey, you didn't pay me royalties. I didn't get like nothing for the publishing. And he confronts him on the show, and Fat Joe basically like plays around it, and it's just interesting. So check out the clip.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. The story about All the Way Up is crazy.
Oh, I want to hear the story about All the Way Up. Go ahead. Let me hear it. French is on All the Way Up. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
Nah, hold on, kids. Now kids come back, I'm gonna tell them the story. So I'm just sitting back in the crib, Crack hit me out of nowhere, like, yo, come by Cool and Dre studio. I got this joint. It's out of here. This is the one. I go to the studio, we knock it out. I'm not thinking none of it. The shit come out, take off, boom. We doing shows. Even Drake hit me. I was telling you, boy hit me like, yo, I need
Drake
a verse on that.
FaceTimed me 3 times.
Yeah, like I need a verse on that. So it was one of them. One time me and Crack doing a big ass show. That's how I know he was a real one. I'm like, yo, Crack, I never really told you, but I checked with my lawyer. He told me I ain't get no publishing on that song. I had 0 publishing on the song. I said, yo, Crack, I know you're not running a business like that. He was like, French, what you want me to do? I said, when I did the song with you, I was like, my brother got me. I ain't got to worry about nothing. Crack was like, you know what? He called his lawyer right on the spot. And he was like, you know what, French, here. I forgot what you gave me.
10%. But the thing is...
I think it was 5. It was 5.
No, it was 10%.
It was 5. It was 5. It was 5.
That's after the fact, right? Nah. You got 10%. You fucking got 10%. Well, you did not.
But you did that, though.
Yeah, of course.
You did that, though. No, you did
in the
that.
front.
Yeah. You did
What
that.
happened to me, and that's after the paperwork's done.
Yeah. He went back and changed
when he's moving, this, that. He come and sit next to me. We had a award show. He said next to me, he said, yo, but you forgot how you told me.
How I told you?
You said, yo, Crack, it was that $1 million voice that made that shit go. He said, I looked at French, I said, why? He was like, yo, I put that $1 million gloss on that bitch. I said, all right, let's call a lawyer now. It's unacceptable. With me, I don't feel good if my people don't make money with me.
Now, you can, like, if you're not watching the video, but you can, if you're listening to this, at least on audio, very clear Fat Joe's uncomfortable. Because French Montana's like, I confronted your lawyer about it, and then you called your lawyer, and, Fat Joe was like, I gave you 10%, and then French Montana's like, nah, I was 5. So, like, it made Fat Joe look even worse. One, because you didn't initially give him his publishing, because French Montana was like, my brother got me, it's all good. He just basically trusted that Fat Joe would do the right thing. And then as, the time went on, he's like, where's my publishing? I have no, that's bad business, man. But, I mean, it's bad business on French Montana's part, too, because regardless of how you feel about Fat Joe, if you guys are cool friends, it's still the music industry. And for the most part, the music industry is a snaky industry. So I wouldn't trust really nobody. I'd be like, yeah, we're homies and stuff, but let's get that paperwork done right, properly. Because leaving it just like that is where you lose money. I saw some responses of people saying like, why is French Montana pressed about some money? He's married to a billionaire now, like a female, it's a billionaire. So what? Just because he's married to a billionaire doesn't mean that's his money automatically. Regardless, he did work on that. He should get paid for that. I also saw a clip of, this actually just reminded me. I saw a clip of the people who wrote the song Through the Wire and then that Kanye sampled. Kanye gets 0 publishing on that record. They took 100% of the publishing. And that clip that was up, people in the comments were attacking the people that took the publishing. And we're like, why would you, this is fucked up. Like, let Kanye make some money off it, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, that's their track. Is it fucked up? Yeah. I mean, I even talked to Sean Money about this in our interview. Sometimes these people take all of the publishing and you get no money when you sample records. But Kanye, here's how I look at it, and I'm sure this is how Kanye looked at it. He saw that this was a huge track that could propel his solo career. Because before that, we knew Kanye as a producer. Once Through the Wire came out, all of a sudden, Kanye is an artist. So Kanye was willing to take that gamble of like, hey, I get no publishing on this track, but this can skyrocket my artist career, and then I can make more music after that. And that's a difference in confidence. There's certain artists that will be like, fuck no, I won't do the record because they're not confident they can make another track like that. Whereas Kanye was. He was like, listen, okay, they'll get publishing, whatever. I won't make a lot of money off that track, but it will catapult me as an artist. And then from there, I can make other records and make more money. Another good example of this is Future. A lot of people were telling Future he was a moron because he gave that Racks on Racks on Racks record to YC. And you know what he told people? Hey, I got more records. I'm not worried about that. And people were like, okay, you're pretty much stupid for doing that. Well, as time went on, who ended up having the major career? It wasn't YC. It was Future with all these other hit records. And now he's practically a legend in Atlanta and legend in hip hop to a certain extent, right? YC is nowhere to be found. I think the last time there's a photo of him is at a car wash that he's doing mechanical work, which no disrespect to him. I'm not saying that's like fucked up or whatever. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation is Future was just that confident in his career. Kanye was that confident regardless of the publishing, regardless of, handing out hits to people. If you're really that confident, that shit won't mean nothing to you. I don't know how I got through this, but I'm just talking about how, publishing and stuff for certain things just don't go right. And Fat Joe, man, it seems like he does bad business, man. A lot of people have on this podcast have like confronted him or, pressed him about certain situations, whether he's lying or just the deals on the back end aren't good. So shout out to French Montana, man, for getting, his cut of it, man. Regardless, that voice on that record, as much as I'm not a fan of French Montana, I'm not really a fan of his music at all. I don't think he's that good of an artist. Although that new record with Max B, what is it? Ever Since You Left, More Cars, More. It's a pretty good record, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and hate. I can't hate. If it's a good track, it's a good track. But I'm not really a fan of French Montana. Regardless, though, his voice is what made that track. I think his voice is what added to that All the Way Up record. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that was the last Fat Joe hit that he had. So pay the person, regardless of what he had, a minimal role, a big role, still give him his publishing, man. And 5% is ridiculous. You should be getting at least 10%, at least at minimum. But yeah, that was interesting, that conversation. A lot of people were talking about it. We posted about it on X. And just wanted to talk about it because, sometimes this happens on podcasts like this with artists. They get confronted about things. And then they got to keep it 100, or they can just lie their way out of it. But yeah, that was cool. 50 Cent continues trolling Jim Jones. Apparently this is actually Cameron and 50 released footage of Jim Jones in the warehouse having no lights on. And you can hear in the conversation, they're talking about like, what do we do? Do you guys have flashlights or something like that to that extent? I'm going to play a lot of the social media stuff he posted, and then we're going to go over it.
Sorry, excuse me. Do we need an electrician, or do we just call Con Ed and they come out and return everything on?
And whenever you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for Super Bowl 60? Are you ready for the excitement, the adrenaline, Braxton Cognac? What the What happened with the lights, man?
The lady's like, do we need an electrician or do we just turn everything on? Yeah, so it looks crazy. 50 in the caption said, LOL at Cameron, turned the lights off. Them bum ass guys was in there with flashlights. He then continued and posted like basically a GIF, whatever you want to call it, with a bunch of eyes and dark lights like a cartoon. He said they and they're like, all we got is us, LOL, we all we got. And then 50 made a funny skit, basically recording an ad for Branson Cognac, his liquor, for the Super Bowl, I assume, because that's what the clip, he was talking about. And then the lights go on off, and then he's like, what the fuck is going on? So that was hilarious in itself. But then Jim Jones responded, and Jim Jones was like in a meditating pose with a bunch of candles around him, basically trolling the situation, which is, good jokes on him, on his end. In the caption, he said, LOL, you don't want to miss this episode of Jones's Improvement Show. So yeah, Jim Jones having his fun with it. I don't know who's telling the truth, but Jim Jones could be legitimately, like, there is construction going on in that building. So there could be issues with like electricity, which happens in buildings that are getting, construction done. Sometimes the power gets shut off during certain projects that you're working on, during certain rooms, you have to shut off the power. That could be the case, or it could be that, hey, they don't have money to pay the electricity, because for those type of buildings, the electricity bill usually is high. It's not something that's just cheap that costs, our regular shit. Electricity now, even in today's time, because of so much AI usage, so much AI is using electricity, every electricity bill is up. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you have an electricity bill, it's gone up the past like 2 to 3 years easily. Mine has. It's jumped. Like in the summer, I was paying like $250, $270 in a month, which was insane. We never had it that high ever in my life. Last time I remember, like 2-3 summers ago, we were probably paying $130, $140. Now, I get it. In the summer, we use the air conditioning, a lot of electricity when you use the air conditioning. That I understand that in the summer, it going up. But right now, just recently, we had our bill come in at like $180 in a month, which was insane again. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how is this so high? Even in the winter, it's high. And it's because of AI. AI has really caused a lot of electricity usage, and it's being thrown on us to pay it. And the worst part is, in America, at least in the state of Georgia, I'm pretty sure it's all across America, you can't change your electricity provider. Whatever area you're in, you're stuck with that provider, which is insane. That's like a monopoly. That's so stupid. Like, why can't if this electricity company is charging me way more, why can't I go to this one? Like, you're stuck in that, which is ridiculous. That needs to be a law that needs to be changed, but that's a whole different conversation. Yeah, I don't know who's telling the truth, but they're just trolling. It's great promotion on Jim Jones' end. He's gotten more looks than he's ever gotten in his whole life, while Cameron and 50 are just having jokes and they're working together and having fun. So that's it on that, but we'll see what happens moving forward. NBA YoungBoy, man, he's having a lot of, I don't want to say mainstream success, because he is having some mainstream success, but he's having a lot of growth as a person. And I think I want to credit Birdman for that, because Birdman, I think, is getting him more in line and more thinking towards his future, because this post is going to surprise you, and it surprised me at least. NBA YoungBoy is officially taking his hustle to the next level, but this time it's behind the camera. The Baton Rouge rapper just launched his own production company, 38 Films, and he's kicking things off with a brand new documentary centered around his life, music, and cultural impact. According to Variety, the project will be produced and distributed in partnership with Foundation Media Partners. This marks YoungBoy's first major step in the film space as a producer. So he's going into films now and be a YoungBoy. That's crazy. I would have never guessed that. That's more of a professional, like, different route of things. The upcoming doc is directed by Nico Ballesteros, the filmmaker behind the controversial Kanye West documentary In Whose Name. While details are still under wraps, the film is expected to go way beyond your typical concert movie. Instead of just backstage clips and crowd shots, the project aims to dig deeper into YoungBoy's real-life journey, from the pressure of nonstop touring to the influence he's built as one of the most streamed artists in hip-hop. YoungBoy has always moved up on his own terms, and launching 38 Films feels like a natural extension of his independent mindset. He's built a loyal fan base without leaning heavily on traditional industry systems. Now he's creating a lane where he can control how his story gets told. For an artist who's constantly been in the headlines, owning his narrative is a powerful move. Yeah. Fans can expect an inside look at what his life looks like at hip-hop's highest level. This includes the grind, the chaos, and the moments that don't always make it to social media. Whether you're locked in for the performances, the behind-the-scenes moments, or the bigger story of how YoungBoy became a cultural force, this documentary sounds like it's aiming to deliver all of it. In a statement reported by Variety, CEO of Foundation Media Partners Patrick Hughes said, NBA YoungBoy is not just an artist, he's a cultural force. Through Nico's vision, the film captures the energy honestly and cinematically while giving audiences a real window into who he is beyond the stage. No release date for the documentary has been announced yet. Round of applause, though. That's dope, man. Going into the film, realm. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess it's just the route that a lot of artists are going, but a lot of artists are going that route where they want to produce their own movies, their own TV. There's more stuff that artists can do, though, man. I'm genuinely surprised that that's the route that most of them are taking. I guess maybe because of 50's success, because I can't really think of has there been rappers who turned actors who become successful? Of course. But I'm saying building your own production company, I can't think of one that's done that. I know Ice Cube, to me, out of rappers, DMX to a certain extent, LL Cool J had his moments, Method Man here and there. I would probably say Ice Cube had the most major success. I don't know. I'd have to really look that up. I'm probably forgetting names and stuff. Eminem only did one movie with 8 Mile, but if Eminem continued, he would have probably had major success as well. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head, but I think Ice Cube, because Ice Cube had Friday. Ice Cube had Are We There Yet? Ice Cube had the movies with Kevin Hart or whatever. He's had a lot of movies, man, that were major successes commercially as well. But yeah, that's from a hip-hop artist to an actor, that's happened. But from a hip-hop artist to production company, a lot more are doing that and starting to produce their own things. I think that's because of 50 Cent's influence. I could be wrong, but that's something that's, I think a lot of artists are looking at and saying, damn, I can get in that realm by, because 50's done it, blah, blah, blah. I think Jay-Z's has his own little production company as well, Rock Nation. But yeah, that's interesting nonetheless. But NBA YoungBoy also is now the most RIAA certified rapper ever. Now, take this with a grain of salt, right? I reported on Tupac and Eminem having only 2 rappers having multiple diamond albums. Tupac has 2. And by the way, multiple does not mean 3. I know a lot of people get confused. Multiple is more than 1. So it can be 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what multiple means. I know it's confusing because it's multi-millionaire, or multiple is people think of it as triple or more, but it means more than 1. So 2, 3, 4. So I posted this post about Tupac and Eminem being the only rappers with multiple diamond albums, with Eminem having 3 with Eminem Show, Marshall Mathers LP, and his Greatest Hits album, and then Tupac having All Eyes on Me and his Greatest Hits album. And then people are commenting, oh, what about this? What about that? What about Drake? Drake hasn't had his certified. Yes, Views is eligible to be diamond, but Take Care is the only one that's been diamond. Kendrick might have eligible albums to be diamond, but being eligible versus actually being diamond are 2 totally different things. But what's interesting is somebody threw the NBA YoungBoy thing at me. It was like, oh, what does this mean? Basically just means he has more things certified. Doesn't mean that it equals to more sales. Because he could have 20 records being certified gold at 500,000 sold versus Eminem having 2 diamond, records. Because how much is 500,000 20? That's times 20. That's 10 million sold, right? So if he has 20 certified gold plaques versus Eminem's 1 certified diamond, Eminem at 1 certified versus NBA YoungBoy at 20 certified equals each other. So you can be the most certified artist, but that doesn't mean you sold the most records, because you could have 20 certifications that equal up to 10 million sales versus Eminem having 1 certification equaling up to 10 million sales. So yes, NBA YoungBoy has more certifications, but the sales are equal. Does that make sense? That's very clear. So yeah, he's the most certified with 126 RIAA certified units. That doesn't make him the best-selling rapper ever, but it does make him the most certified. And it just basically means he's updating his shit in sales. That's really all it is. Which a lot of artists will, Eminem hasn't updated his in, I believe, 2-3 years. But once he updates his, he'll probably get up there. I think Eminem, how many units does Eminem have? Because it's Eminem and Drake that really are up there with the most certified units. Let's see here. So total certifications. So Drake is at 331.5 million certified units in sales. He's got 97 gold, 96 platinum. Let me actually do the math on this on Drake's. Because what is it? NBA YoungBoy's at 126 RIAA certified units. This is interesting. I don't know if they're counting these all together or are they not? Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're counting these together on the Drake because Drake has 257 RIAA certified units if you're counting like them separately. But I think they count over each other because if you go gold and then you go platinum, you've already gone gold and been certified for gold. Now you're platinum. So does that count as 2 or does that count as 1 because now you're not on gold, you're on platinum, if that makes sense. So I think they're counting them like all separately, but Drake's at 331.5 million certified units. Eminem's at 228.5 million. Drake has 11 diamond plaques. Eminem has 6. But yeah, like, see, overall in units, Eminem and Drake have sold way more than NBA YoungBoy. NBA YoungBoy's at 123.5 million sold, which, you know, versus 331. I mean, 123.5 million is a lot. And this guy's still young, but it's the basically, hey, I'm throwing a bunch of albums out, and you know, eventually they'll sell. That's basically what it is. It's not like being concentrated and dropping a project every 2 to 3 years. It's like he dropped an album last year. He's about to drop one another this year. So it's like he just drops albums every single year. And it's the same kind of thing with to a certain extent, Drake. He does drop a lot more projects. Basically, a lot of these artists just have a huge catalog. I mean, Kanye West is up there with 192.5. Let's see where Jay-Z's at. I'm really curious to see what Jay-Z. Lil Wayne's up there at 120 million. J. Cole's at 111.5 million. Let's see. I can't even find Jay-Z on this fucking list right now. Michael Jackson at 158.5 million. But Michael Jackson hasn't had his shit updated. So Jay-Z's at 71 million total. Let's see where 50 Cent is at, because he hasn't had his shit. Well, he had his updated in like 2020 for the most part. So yeah, 50 hasn't had his updated that recently. He's at 60 million. Jay-Z is at 70 million. So 50 is at what? 10 million less than Jay-Z, and Jay-Z has like 12 albums versus 50 Cent's 5 albums. Sorry, I made this a 50 and Jay-Z. I just somehow had to just go. I just was curious. So Jay-Z's at 71 million, 50's at 60 million. And Jay-Z's gotten his more recently updated for the most part. Not everything, but his has been more recently updated. So, yeah, these numbers are just, you know, hey, man, how many things have been certified? How often you get your shit updated? Does it really mean much? Yeah, it's a great accomplishment, but it's not like, you know, I think people take certain things too far and say, oh, this is this. It's not that big of a deal. I think it's dope nonetheless, and a huge congratulations to him because NBA YoungBoy is still young, so he's got a long ways to go if he continues making music, or if he goes into production, does producing and acting. He could go that route, but you know, he's up there, man. He's doing a lot in his career, so round of applause to him regardless. Speaking of careers, T.I. has announced he is back in making music. He's finally going to release his album, his final album, quote unquote, Kill the King, and he previewed a song produced by Pharrell Williams, and then he dropped the song. It's called Let 'Em Know. He cut off his hair. He went back to the old T.I. look with the shaved head, with very, very low buzz cut, which, you know, I like that look way better. No homo. I think it looks better on him as a person and as an artist and all that. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm a huge T.I. fan. I love his music. His recent albums, I think the last 2 were all right, but for the most part, his catalog is good. I need to rank T.I.'s album as well. I think that'll be something that's very, very, very needed. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Let's get into New Music Friday. A$AP Rocky dropped his Don't Be Dumb album. NBA YoungBoy dropped the Slam Cry album. J. Cole dropped that Disc 2 track. Wiz Khalifa dropped the Chaotic album. The Game DJ Drama, Mike and Keys dropped a new mixtape. I don't think that came out, did it? I'm tripping. Jordan Lucas dropped ADHD 2 Reloaded. And I think that's it. Mozzie and ESTG dropped You Heard Me, though. Black Boy Max and Bryson Tiller dropped What You Doing. So that's it for new music. Album sales, Zach Bryan debuted at number 1. Of course, these country artists always debut at number 1. With Heaven on Top with 135,000 copies sold. Morgan Wallen at number 2 with I'm the Problem with 84,000 sold. Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl, number 3 with 65,000 sold. Olivia Dean, The Art of Loving, number 4 with 64,000 sold. K-Pop Demon Hunter soundtrack at number 5 with 56,000 sold. The Kid Laroi, which is, he hasn't released music for a while, but his debuted at number 6 with 41,000 sold. Tate McRae, So Close to What, number 7 with 40,000 sold. SZA SOS, number 8 with 40,000 sold. Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time, number 9 with 36,000 sold. Alex Warren, You'll Be All Right Kid with number 10 with 33,000 sold. Going down the list, Drake, Take Care, number 18 with 27,000. So that's crazy that the album is in like literally the top 20 selling like that after all these years. Cardi B, number 21 with Am I the Drama, 24,000 sold. EST Kid Rebel, number 22 with 23,000 sold. Going down the list, Party Next Door and Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You, number 29 with 21,000 sold. BX The Plug, I Hope You're Happy, number 32 with 20,000 sold. Drake Views, number 35 with 19,000 sold. Eminem Curtain Call, number 36 with 19,000 sold. Kendrick Lamar GNX, number 37 with 19,000 sold. Fetty Wap's debut album came back on the charts. Wow, just because he got released at number 42 with 18,000 sold. That is interesting. Gunna, the last one, number 46 with 18,000 sold. And Bruno Mars's albums came back on the list, I guess because he made his comeback musically. So he's on there as well. That's crazy. But yeah, that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Stream us, all that. Watch us, Spotify, Deezer Podcast, Apple Podcasts. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.